And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, director at WEIU. Our guest today is a pretty important guy around here, the EIU president, Dr. Jay Gatrell. Welcome.
Well, welcome. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy being on this show because, one, we get to reconnect and get to learn about all the amazing things you're doing here with students.
Well, appreciate that very much. Always fun, I think, to touch base with you as well, and kind of let the people out there and kind of know what you're up to and what a president does, and more importantly, we get a little bit longer time to do that interview. But I guess the big news lately is that Dr. Ryan Hendrickson was officially named the Vice President of Academic Affairs here at EIU. Talk about Dr. Hendrickson and what that means to EIU.
Well, first of all, I'm grateful for everyone who's involved with that search process. It's a very lengthy process, as you all know. It's a campus-wide effort. A large search committee. We had outstanding candidates in the pool, and it was the pool of candidates was really deep, and I can tell you, I'm just so excited to have Ryan emerge from that pool as the most competitive and outstanding candidate. And he is just a great colleague. He is committed to Eastern Illinois University. He has a nearly 25-year record of accomplishment here at the university. And it's just, I'm looking forward to working with Ryan. And he has just been a great dean, an outstanding interim provost. And I look forward to working with him in his new role.
Does it make it also easier for you knowing that you've got a guy that's coming in there that's 25 years of EIU experience, a little bit of time on the job, but just the old saying is he knows where the bodies are buried to get things done?
Oh golly, I don't know. That's not a saying I would use, but I'll tell you. But Ryan, he certainly understands who we are.
Yep.
He understands what our mission is, and more importantly, he understands sort of our values. And if there's one thing I take a great deal of pride across all the vice presidents and the entire leadership team is we endeavor to be value-centered in our leadership every day and putting relationships with people first and understanding that we're just stewards of this place and for a short period of time and we want to make sure that we left it better than we got it. So that is something that Michael says all the time about his student athletes, but that's the work we do as leaders. If we really want to make sure that the campus and the community and the people are in a position to be successful going forward.
Is it tough to instill that into everybody on campus? The leave it better than you got it attitude. I mean, because that's been one thing I said forever here is when it's time to go, I want people to come here and know that this place can run without me or whoever at WEIU.
Well, I can tell you. Everyone I know on this campus cares deeply about this place and our students, and I earnestly believe that they're committed to doing that, whether they're working as a BSW or in our dining halls or on the outstanding grounds crew or in the classroom or right here on HitMix. The reality is I earnestly believe everyone cares deeply about this place and is committed to doing that work and living that ethos, that if you're committed to the mission, right, of educating and serving and leading for not only the state of Illinois, but for individuals and Coles County and Charleston, it's easy work to do. It's exciting work, it's important work, and it's meaningful work. And I want everyone to feel like what they do on this campus every day has meaning and is a difference maker.
The EIU Community Ambassador Scholarship Program is back. I saw that last week. I wanted to ask you about it and what that means.
Well, the Community Ambassadors Program, it really is one of those unique programs that was initiated by one of our own alums, Gary Swearingen, if you know Gary.
Yeah, a little bit I know Gary.
Gary's just a true supporter of Eastern, but more importantly, he's committed to making sure that we grow talent here in this community and that we foster and invest in students and high school graduates from this area, because if we keep folks here in Coles County or in East Central Illinois or in the state of Illinois for their 4 years, we know that we're more likely to retain them going forward for their careers and so on. So the Community Ambassadors Program is really intended to identify the best high school graduates from across the region and provide them with additional financial support to be successful. This scholarship program has participants from really across the community. And it's been supported by Sarah Bush. It's been supported by First Mid Washington and a bank and a number of other organizations, First Neighbor. Okay. So it really is an all hands on deck initiative, and some of our newest members and corporations in town, including DHM, are signing on to support that initiative. So It's a great way to connect with my colleagues across the county, learn about their priorities and their businesses, but more importantly, making sure we have the talent and the workforce necessary to meet the needs of our professions and entire community.
And does that go into effect this coming fall, or what's the timeline on that?
Yeah, we'll be awarding those scholarships. So the deadline for the applications actually passed, but we sort of relaunched that fundraising campaign, and I can tell you the response has been incredible and positive, and I'm just grateful for our community leaders who care so deeply about Eastern and our students.
That's good. And the thing is, I love it when Mattoon and Charleston and area kids come to Eastern. It just seems like it's more, it's more fun, but it's more relatable. Maybe to some people who've been like me that have been in the community forever. And there's a lot of people like that.
But it's for a lot of students from across the region. Even if they're from Coles County, they may not have ever been on our campus.
Yeah.
For a program or a basketball game or a football game, so anytime we can introduce the entire community and the region to the work we do here and our resources and our programs and the experiences that can happen here on campus, that is, we're going to try to leverage every resource across the entire region to get more students to be part of the Eastern experience, but more importantly, to be future EIU alumni.
There you go. The Groninger Arena, the renaming, but I just love the look of the sign on 4th Street when you're going by. Can you take us through some of that thought process and how you think it looks? I think it looks great.
Well, I'll tell you, that blue really pops.
Yeah.
So if for those of you who aren't aware, we've had a long time true supporter of Panther athletics, Jerry Groninger, who really cares deeply about our student athletes. He is invested in women's basketball as well as the entire array of programs across intercollegiate athletics. But his passion for our student athletes and enhancing the student athlete experience really is second to none. And his support for our student athletes and our programs really is an exemplar. And so when the opportunity emerged to rename that facility, so it's now Groninger Arena at Lance Complex, it was one that was a no-brainer. Jerry and his leadership and his philanthropy and passion and kindness and generosity really are second to none, and I'm just grateful. He loves the Panthers, and I'm grateful that he, as well as Marlene, care so deeply about Charleston and Coles County.
That's a good success story right there. The EIU extended the decision day for FAFSA, so students have an extra month this year to kind of get all that paperwork in. I know it's a little bit of pain. I've been through it myself, so talk about what that means and hopefully helps EIU.
Well, for those of you who don't know, FAFSA is the free financial aid form for student aid.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful acronym, and this year they revamped it. We used to have something called EFC, which is expected family contribution. And if this is too much in the weeds, by all means, say, Jay, this is too much.
No, it's good.
And then we have this new, this SAI, which is a student aid index. So we're moving from the EFC to the SAI, and with that, what that's going to mean is more and more students are going to have access to MAP, which is a state program, as well as Pell Grant, which is a federal program, and it will allow an expanded collection of students to receive additional aid. The U.S. Department of Education believes, there could be hundreds of millions of dollars of extra Pell Grant, increased guaranteed student loans, and that's important because the guaranteed student loan, the interest on those loans are paid while you're in college. It doesn't accrue. So, this new format is going to help more students. It's going to reduce the verifications we have to do, which means more students will get aid, and that aid will be delivered in more real time than it has historically been. So that's a win. But like all things, when you create a new website or a new model or a new technology, a little bit delayed in terms of the launch. It launched end of December, and there were some technical issues. And so we're just mindful of the fact that it's maybe taking a little bit longer for students. Ordinarily, they would complete that in October. It didn't open up until December. So we want to make sure that students have all the information they need to make the decision that is in their best interest. Of course, I think coming to Eastern is in every student's best interest, but we want to make sure that scholarship deadlines, those things aren't impacted as a result of the FAFSA delays. So, and it's also something all the state public institution presidents and chancellors have committed to doing, to expanding that timeline. So, it makes sense to make sure learners have all the information they can. If that means 30 days, that's fine. But we want to make sure students have the knowledge they need to make a decision that will impact their entire life.
Makes sense. WEIU Kids Day is coming up on March 9th. I know you were a big proponent of us getting this back, with all the different organizations we work with. And I'm not going to name them all because there's too many. But how excited are you about it coming back? It puts COVID to rest. Kids will be back on campus here at Buzzard March 9th.
Well, I think it's going to be great. I just hope it doesn't rain. I remember there was a rain year one year.
Well, that's why we're inside.
I know. And so, it's a great day because my first year here we had EIU Kids Day. I remember coming down and there was like Tiger and all the little, I guess.
Yeah, Billy the Panther will be here, Daniel Tiger, and Katarina Kitty Cat.
And it's just such a great opportunity for students, to bring their children, or families to bring their children, or folks who just want to learn about WEIU and have a passion for public broadcasting programs. It's a great way to bring folks to campus to interact and see the resources that are available to them in the community, because a lot of those organizations are human services agencies, K-12 development, child development, and educational opportunities. So it brings together really a critical mass of service providers here on campus, and also it's a fun day. It's a fun day for the kids and the parents, and it's a great way for us to highlight sort of the programming on PBS.
Yep, that's great. And your kid will leave here with something. There's bags and stuff already.
Face paint, or you butterfly on your face. Yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah, it's already stacking up down there. So we're only a few weeks away. We're excited about that. Since you've been named president, talk about the changes that going from not being being the vice president to president, and what that means in kind of your day-to-day life.
Well, first of all, it's been amazing, and really the support and grace of folks across the communities has been amazing. But I will tell you, your schedule changes a little bit. So probably a few more meetings, a little more travel to meet folks, whether it's in Springfield to meet with the legislators and the General Assembly. Obviously there's a shift in the focus of the role a little bit, and you move from operational to more strategic initiatives, and also there's a little bit more of an external focus versus internal. But I actually, for me, I love what we do here every day. So I spend that's probably not having an opportunity to sort of observe or participate in probably everything I've wanted to has been a challenge in that respect. But we're doing important work, whether it's driving to Springfield to talk to legislators, or it's meeting with folks from across the state of Illinois who really have a passion for this place and want to give back. So it's a little different. It's one turret down in the castle. So I moved 50 yards, but I got a lot more meetings in as a result. But it's fun. I really, every day I wake up, I get to work about 6:05, somewhere around there, and I just am so blessed to come to Old Main every day. And look down through the gate and into sort of the square in Charleston there. It's just a beautiful feeling I have. But more importantly, it's an honor to serve. It's something I take very seriously, and I just want to get it right every day. And sometimes it feels like like any job, right? You just want to get it right every day. But there's so much to do. But it's been amazing. And I think the biggest sort of change has been the flow of the day. It just flows differently than a vice presidency in terms of where the meetings are. Some are off campus versus just the flow is different, but it's been amazing.
When you think about being the president, you talk about all the meetings. Is there a typical day, or is every day different?
There is no typical day. I always try to get out and walk around campus, as you've probably seen me. I really try to interact as much as I can with students. That's one of the reasons I launch community office hours 3 times a semester to meet with students in the union. I try to go to the rec center at lunch as best I can, and that's harder to do today than it was a year ago. But I just love being part of the campus community. So it's a different vibe, but it's still a lot of fun. And I try to go to every basketball game. There's nothing cooler than going to a basketball game, and or playing in the pep band. I just met one of our alums, Jonathan, who now works here. And that's the cool stuff I get to do. I get to hang out with students. I get to play tuba. I send a lot of email along the way, and I sit a lot in a lot of meetings. But I get to do really cool stuff with kids. I mean, that's awesome.
And one of the things you said, I remember when I first met you, is you care about the community so much, and so you're very visible. Probably more visible than most presidents at most universities are. Has that been something you really try to do, or is that just really just you?
Well, it's who I am. I mean, I think I was really visible as provost. I mean, my dad, I still sort of reflect on his approach towards sort of being a role model. Whether he was involved in the Lions Club or the Knights of Columbus or whatever it was, service and being visible and being out there was one of the takeaways. You work hard, but you give back as best you can within your means and your capacity to do so. And so for me, when I committed to come here in 2017, I committed to be in Charleston. I committed to being in of and caring about this place. And I think it makes a difference. You have to invest. You have to love community. You have to love to serve. And within a week of my arriving, I was already going to Rotary meetings. I've been a Rotarian for years, and that is just something that's really critical. I love being part of the community. If I just went to work and went home, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be worth it. The value add are the people. The people you meet in the community, the people I meet on campus. I was at Rocks a few months ago, and a community member said, it's just so great to see you at Rocks, because I was out on the horseshoe there, imbibing a little bit. And it's really important just to be in and of community.
That's a good answer. Obviously, there's challenges, though. What are some of the challenges that Eastern faces, maybe short term and long term, as from a president's point of view?
Well, I think all universities have a challenge,
yeah.
right? We've heard about the birth dearth, right? Decreasing birth rates in 2026 through maybe 2030, somewhere in there. Some depending upon which demographer, there's a rebound. But I think the challenge is competition. Competition between institutions. Public regional comprehensives have a unique space in sort of the ecosystem of higher ed. And we want to be accessible, which means we have to be affordable. And it's inflation's a real driver, a challenge for us. Inflation has been a challenge. So my number one goal is to control those costs and make sure that Eastern remains affordable, accessible, and our value proposition, which is you spend 4 years here, and you're going to go on to have something very significant. That impact, that value proposition, whether it's your first career placement or your lifelong success in a career, those are things that are we want to preserve that accessibility, affordability, and that's sort of going to be challenging over the next 4 to 5 years. And we also know to get the best students, we have to have a competitive scholarship package. So there's a number of sort of challenges that every institution has. I think we're doing it right. We're trying to balance those. We're seeing growth in our graduate students. That's a huge win. We have a large number of international students who've enrolled over the last couple of years. That's a win. We're steady on our first-time, full-time. We're working on addressing sort of equity gaps across the entire ecosystem of our population. So, we're working hard to move every lever we can to make sure every learner who enrolls at Eastern achieves their goal and is retained, and that we continue to, as Plan 2028 says, create a campus that reflects our values and our aspirations, engage the world, and then both sides of Lincoln. And then finally, we have the resources. That's what that strategic plan is about, is making sure that EIU has the resources and the strategy to be successful so we can meet the needs of the next generation of learners, who are, in second or third grade or maybe even a bit younger, because we need this to be a vibrant campus for decades to come. And that's about being strategic and intentional. So we're going to evolve over time. We're going to think about, what's our footprint going to look like? How's it going to change over time? And as learning changes, becomes more virtual, what does that mean? How does that impact our physical infrastructure, and so on? But there's a lot of work to do, Jeff. And
really,
but but we have outstanding people doing the work. I mean, and we have folks in housing and dining, Jeremy Alexander, Mark Hudson, doing amazing work. The student affairs team, in the Dean of Students office, Brittany and Monique and Jody. There are so many folks doing their level best to make sure we're moving the needle and providing the care and support that every student needs. So, we can deliver on sort of the promise of EIU because we deliver on it one person at a time, one experience at a time.
That's a good answer there. Ramey in the business office, we'll throw a shout out to her as well.
Yeah, she's pretty. Yeah,
it's pretty important to me.
She is. She's fantastic.
Is there anything that shocked you that you've learned from being the president of a university? Like you just didn't think it was going to be part of the job?
No. I mean, I think I don't think I've been shocked by anything. I had the pleasure of being an ACE fellow back in 2012, where that's the American Council on Education's leadership program, where you go around, you shadow a president. So I had the opportunity to work with the president intensely for essentially a year. So I mean, I don't think there's anything that shocked me. I've learned a lot about HVAC. I've learned a lot about tunnels that I didn't know I was going to need to know, but it's kind of cool. And I think I've gained a new appreciation for the folks who work extraordinarily hard to make sure the lights are on, and the facilities are maintained. Some of that stuff I've learned a lot about. I just gained a whole new respect for folks who I know them, right? But I didn't know what they did. And so I've learned a lot about facilities, and we take a lot of that for granted. We wake up every day assuming the lights are going to be on, the internet's going to be on, and I'm just grateful that, Katie Anselman and Matt Bierman have effectively sort of gotten us another $12 million to do a $19 million tunnel project. And, that is probably the coolest thing we're going to spend money on in the near term is the design and build phase for that, which will probably begin this summer, because those tunnels are critical to our sustainability and viability, in terms of, just making sure the internet's on and the heat's on and so on. So that's a huge win. So I've learned a lot about that. And it's kind of neat. You just take for granted, but there's a lot of really good work and important work happening underground and some of behind panels, electrical panels you just don't know.
There you go. I was not expecting an answer. That's a good answer. What do students ask you the most when you talk to a student? I know you love talking to students.
Oh, well, they think it depends. So the pep band loves the fact that I play, and they want to, what other instruments do you play? And well, I play tuba, but I also play a little bit of trombone, not very well, full disclosure. And I do play baritone. Baritone euphonium was my favorite instrument, oddly enough, but there's not a lot of parts for it. It's not as cool as a sousaphone. But I think most people just want to know how to get here, right? I mean, how did you ever? I didn't know this was a job. I mean, when I was 18 years old, I had no idea that, one, you could be a faculty member. How cool is that, right?
Yeah.
And that you could go on and have a career and lead an outstanding organization, an institution like Eastern Illinois University. And so, some people ask me, how'd you get there? I mean, and usually I say, embrace serendipity, right? I mean, you have plans are great, but just go with it. Yep. I mean, if you do good work and you care about the work you do, you're going to be fine, and you're going to succeed your own expectations and that of others. And so most people say, how'd you get there? And it never occurred to me to ask that question, because I don't think I even knew it. I mean, when I was provost, I didn't know what a provost was when I was in undergrad or grad school, right? But, and I never met a president at any of my institute ever, right? So what I love is that here on this campus, we're human scaled, and students feel comfortable yelling J across the campus. The other day, so this is my favorite, so we had that snow day, right? Yeah. So I don't get on like yak or any of that, but sometimes people send me things that might be posted on there, which, and so somebody sends me this picture of me like out in the, because I was walking one day, someone took a picture and they said, this guy's never going to close school, right? So, I think it's great that, people feel comfortable, students feel comfortable sort of poking fun at me. I love it. And no, I'm not canceling school because I grew up in northern Michigan. So, but, I think it's great that students feel so comfortable to approach, yell out my name. And I love just being accessible and approachable because that gives meaning to me. I mean, I didn't know how much joy I would get out of teaching, but I still teach. As much as I can, but it's great because working on a college campus is extraordinary.
That's a good answer. And I agree with you 100%. We got a couple minutes left. We're talking to Dr. Jay Gatrell. Yeah, you president today. Any new?
And you always get me reflective.
That's the idea. We want the insight. We want to know who you are so we can pick your brain. That's the fun part. Okay, what about building updates? Any new updates, things that are going on campus-wide that people will see?
Well, I mentioned the tunnels.
Yeah, tunnels.
Tunnels. Now, that's going to be a huge project. It's going to be a lot of open ground. We'll have steam pipes above ground. But everyone wants to know about the science building, right? Yeah. Okay, the science building is on its way. I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago with chemistry and biology and the facilities folks, and I want to thank that entire team for their efforts. So we're moving forward with the next phase pretty soon. I can't officially say it's happened, but we are so close that I anticipate we'll have a signature on that for what they call design build phase. Okay. That'll be phase 2 of that project. We're doing a lot of water mitigation over at Lance right now. On the other side of the rec center, you'll see pretty big trenches there because we had some water infiltration. We're going to be putting some roofs on. Now none of this may sound fun, but we need roofs, and we need and
need roofs not to leak is what we need.
Yeah. So it's yes, but it's we're doing a lot of the work that we weren't able to do for a couple of years, and that's in large part due to the leadership and hard work of the folks in facilities and Matt Bierman and the support of the General Assembly. So we're also going to have a project. We painted the rails. This is my we painted the rails at O'Brien. Now that may not sound like a big thing, but now we took them down, had them powder coated. They're not even painted; they're powder coated, which means we never have to paint them again. So we're trying to do things that value add, and
there'll be other changes coming to O'Brien eventually, right?
Yes.
But we can't. I know. Some of that stuff we can't talk about yet, but there's good things coming down the road.
Yes.
At O'Brien, as well as inside Groninger as well.
And in coaches.
There you go. I think, and I'm running out of time, but one thing also I think that brings a lot of community or campus pride is we had a really good sports year last year and this year. Mm-hmm. Football, baseball, and basketball, all of them really succeeded. Softball, too. So that really kind of builds that student awareness up where they want to go to the games.
Yeah, no, I mean, and volleyball. I'll tell you, we're going to do something in the spring. So I'm going to have a community appreciation day for softball. We're going to invite the entire community, free hot dogs. We're going to do the same thing for a baseball game for employees. I really want to celebrate, the work of our student athletes, bring some energy around it. There was that volleyball OVC tournament day during the Thanksgiving break was wonderful to see all the employees there. I mean, so we're going to continue to invest. Winning's great. I mean, winning is fantastic, and that all the coaches and the recruiters, they're doing amazing work.
We're out of time. I'm sorry.
We're done?
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for coming in. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
We are WEIU.